This is Akashvani Jalandhar. Good evening, listeners. We warmly welcome you to a fresh episode of our English literary magazine, Spectrum. In today's issue, you will listen to an interview with NRI award-winning author Madhav Setia. This conversation will be led by Ruchi Pathania.
We welcome all our listeners tuning into Akashvani Jalandhar's program Spectrum. Today we are joined by Madhav Setia, an award-winning author, lawyer, historian and model whose work spans literature, academia and culture. A graduate of King's College London, he later completed MSc in Human Rights at London School of Economics, where he developed a strong interest in decolonial thought, subaltern histories and diasporic identity. Having written for multiple academic publications, Madhav brings a thoughtful, interdisciplinary perspective to his work. His recent book, Punjab Musical and Hymns Beyond, has received critical acclaim and has been hailed as one of 2025's must-read titles. He is also an avid cinephile and a familiar presence on the runway as a fashion model. Madhav is presently working on his second book, which is expected to be released later this year. We are delighted to have him with us today. Madhav, it is a pleasure to have you with us. So let us begin by going back in time to your childhood. You have an inspiring and illustrious career. Please tell us where it all started.
Thank you so much for having me, Ruchi. Just very grateful to be here. I've been hearing about All India Radio ever since I was a child, and it is just such a momentous occasion. I grew up between India and the UK, and I moved full-time to England at a very young age. So it was a sort of multicultural upbringing between two countries, two different cultures. And what I loved about this childhood was that at its core, Punjabi culture was always given precedence. And I was able to be Punjabi in England as well because we've got such a huge Punjabi community in the UK. And it was a nice multicultural upbringing between two different countries, two different places, lots of travel. My father is, and will probably always be just a huge fan of learning through travel. So that gave me perhaps an upper hand because I just traveled a lot when I was a child. I was in different countries all the time. And I love saying that I take a lot of pleasure in the fact that I've seen a lot of India. I don't think many people can say that. Even Indians living in India just don't understand how big this country actually is, how many states there are, how many cities there are, how many cultures there are. But I take a lot of pleasure in saying that I've seen a lot of India, and every nook and corner of this country is just so different from the other. So lots of travel in my childhood, and perhaps that's what inspired me to just take my career in all these different directions, if that makes any sense.
That's absolutely sums up what you've said, and it's really good to hear that you've had the chance to explore India at its beauty and best. So moving on to the next question, Madhav. Well, growing up, were you always clear about what you wanted to become? Because, many of us grow up, having been asked this question ever so often, what do you want to become when you grow up? So did you experience that as well?
Wow, I now that I look back at it, I think that I always knew that I wanted to do something creative, and I was always a writer. I always used to write ever since I was probably 6 or 7. That's my earliest memory of writing. I think I always wanted to do something related to writing, and that's why it was extremely important for me post high school to go into academia. I did not choose any objective kind of profession. I chose history, law, lots of reading, lots of writing as a career choice initially because I just liked writing. So I think I kind of knew that I wanted to be a writer or maybe do something that involved writing, but I wasn't very clear.
I totally understand that. All right. So, what led you to the diverse and very impressive career paths that you finally carved for yourself?
It was just one day at a time. Now that I think about it, when I got done with my master's, I was just very confused about where life was headed. And post my education, I think I just gave different things a shot. And that sort of opened up ways for all these different career paths. And yeah, I just sort of became jack of all trades because I never stuck to one thing. And a lot of people told me that you have to pick one lane, but I never listened to that because I really think that you can do as many things as you want to. A lot of people say that it's good to just focus on one thing qualitatively. I agree with that. But for me, what has worked is just putting my shoe in these different kinds of boats and just pursuing everything all at once.
That's wonderful, Madhav. I think that really helps. The fact that you were not scared to kind of follow your instinct and your gut feel, and you tried everything. I think that is inspirational, and I'm sure our listeners would agree to that. So you have studied at prestigious institutions like King's College London and the London School of Economics. How did you choose the subjects you pursued, Madhav, and how much did you experience as your experience as a non-resident Indian, shape those choices?
That's wow. I think post high school, actually during high school, I just absolutely loved history. And that was sort of the only subject that I thought I had proficiency in. So I was very particular about doing history for my undergrad. And as I was studying history, I just became so interested in law. And that happened because history is not as rosy as it is taught to children. It has been unjust to many people. They've faced a lot of injustices, and this line is just an understatement. Yeah. Particularly what the Indian diaspora or just people under colonial rule, what we faced and the kind of hatred that we are facing right now in 2026 as well. It's bonkers. But when I was studying history, I sort of came across this concept of subaltern history, and that somewhere inspired me to study law, because I just wanted to bring voices of minority voices to the forefront and voices of brown people living in India, living in South Asia, living abroad. I think it's very important for us to just be visible, because a lot of times we sort of have that inside us as well, right? Where we just want to take the back seat. But I think it's very important for us to be visible in the global world. So I decided to study law after that. And I think doing a master's in human rights was an excellent choice, because I learned so much about the sociological workings of society. And I read everything from Hannah Arendt to Frantz Fanon to just so many pioneering people back in the day and their works, and that grounded me in my understanding of how important it is to have minorities in visible media even more.
That's wonderful, Madhav. In fact, I compliment you on your perspective and on keeping that part of being, a global spokesperson for India and Indian culture.
Thank
you. You go. So you have achieved quite a lot. I won't be wrong to say that, at a very young age, across fields, Madhav. Which of these milestones that you've achieved thus far, has been the most meaningful and fulfilling to you?
Wow. Thank you so much, Ruchi. Perhaps I would say that just publishing my first book was an extremely big deal, because a lot of people, I think, they write manuscripts that unfortunately are not accepted for publication. And I think I was just grateful to have written a manuscript that that resonated with so many publishing houses and later resonated with so many people as well. So maybe it was publishing a book, or maybe I just want to say it's surviving these times, man, for all of us. I think we're living in just extremely trying times for the world. It's not being a person of color abroad. I keep coming back to this one article that I read as an academic by Kimberly Crenshaw on intersectionality, which is just about how a person can face these different kinds of issues based on what their identity is. And I think that Indian men and women and all people just face so many epistemic and structural barriers living abroad, that just surviving these times is, I think, a milestone in itself. And with everything going on in the world, it's just not the best time for us, and I'm praying it gets better soon.
We join you in that prayer, but it is always good to see, young leaders such as yourself, becoming the voice of masses and taking up issues which definitely have an impact on how, the global scenario goes forth in the coming years or so. And as I said, we pray that things, get better for the better. So, Madhav, do you have a bucket list of things that you still hope to explore or accomplish in the years ahead?
Absolutely. I was thinking about this, and I really want to travel a lot more. There's a lot more that I haven't seen. I definitely want to eat ramen in Japan. I would love to go to Rio in Brazil. It's my dream destination. And just a lot of traveling, a lot more books, a lot more writing, and hopefully a lot more living and not just surviving.
Oh, that's a beautiful thing. That's a beautiful
Pardon the cliche.
Not at all. That's a beautiful thought to sort of, you need to thrive, of course. So, you have described yourself as a cinephile, Madhav. So what kinds of films do you really enjoy watching? And what was the last movie that you recently watched you'd like to share with us?
Absolutely, Ruchi. I love cinema, particularly international cinema. And my love for cinema just spans my childhood. I think cinema has just been a very pertinent part of my childhood. I love international cinema. A lot of people are not going to like this, but I am not the biggest fan of masala movies. I like more slow-paced films, more dramas, and I like a lot of French films. In India, they're known as art house films. I still don't understand what art house films means. But a lot of people describe, they say that Madhav just likes art house movies, art movies. And I think every movie is a piece of, I don't know what art house film is. I just don't understand that. But the last movie I saw actually is a movie called Hamnet by Chloe Zhao. It's based on a book by Maggie O'Farrell, if I'm saying that correctly, and I might just be completely off. I'm sorry. But I think Hamnet was just a beautiful film. I think Paul Mescal was amazing in it. Jessie Buckley. It really moved me.
Just give us a few takeaways of what did you love the most in that movie?
Oh my God! I think the last act, when they're playing Hamlet in Shakespeare's Globe. And I later found out actually that they'd built a set of the Shakespeare Globe somewhere in America. But yeah, I think the last act was just phenomenal. I think my key takeaway from that movie is that sometimes writing comes from the pain that you experience in your life. And I think that my aim has been always to transmute and channel any sort of negative or low vibration feeling. I think my aim has been to just channel all sort of negative emotions into creativity, and just having a worthy outlet for all these emotions that one can suffer from or face, because I think it's very important to not let these emotions affect you to a point that you're not able to face the world. Even though that happens, and that's fair as well. But what has worked for me is just channeling these emotions into more writing, and I think that's what Shakespeare and Hamlet did in a way. So that was good. Yeah.
That's a beautiful summary. Thank you, Madhav. It's really made a lot of sense. And so now, since we're talking about writing and how it can be used as a channel to not just express, but also manage your emotions, specifically negativity and such. We live in an age which is dominated by social media, more so artificial intelligence now, Madhav. So many young people today spend more time scrolling than reading. So do you think, and do you see social media as helping or challenging literary culture? How can we encourage our younger generation to read or maybe write more?
I'm honestly very pessimistic about this. It's extremely sad because I think we are not just victims of it, we're actually perpetrators as well. Yeah, I'm just extremely sad about this because I think that writing culture is diminishing. I think reading is so passé.
Yes.
I think we as a society need to collectively work on fixing our fried up attention span, because I think our attention span is just, it's been completely fried. And honestly, I have nothing positive to say about this because nobody's reading anymore. Nobody's writing that much. Everybody's using AI for simple tasks. I think practice makes perfect, right? So I think the only way to help this is to put your phone away for a few hours in the day and just pick up a book. And I still try to do that. And I have to be honest, I'm not trying to be a holier than thou kind of person, but I'm a victim of this as well. I mean, we're all so privy to doom scrolling. But I'm trying to make a habit out of this, to just put the phone away and then just pick up a book. And this is going to sound a little funny, but I think what people can do to fix their attention span is to just pick up what they think is an extremely boring book. So I'm not going to take any names, but I think people can just pick up one of the classics and try to read it, because I try to do that.
Right.
Yes.
Wonderful. So, yeah, I think it will take time, but if we try kind of inculcating these little habits, right, when we are young or when we are kind of growing up, I think that definitely would make a lot of difference. If you take up reading, even you can start with 15 minutes. I personally have started doing that.
Right.
And now I've increased that span to around an hour or so.
Right. And I think now with like audiobooks and Audible and all this stuff, I think it should make it easier.
Definitely. Definitely. You're managing multiple careers, Madhav. And what gave you the confidence, the encouragement, to pursue different paths without any self-doubt or any hesitation?
There is a lot of doubt and hesitation, Ruchi, if I'm being super honest and just vulnerable. There's lots of moments of self-doubt, but I think you just have to keep pushing through it. I'm a big believer in manifestation, huge. So I think, and not the woo kind of manifestation, but manifestation that is rooted in action, lots of action and inspired action, and then just letting go and surrendering. But I think just having a vision for yourself genuinely helps a lot. And I make a lot of vision boards. I look at them a lot, and that sort of sets the tone for the year or the next few years or the next few months. But there's many moments of doubt. And I'm trying to battle that myself. But I just look at the larger picture of where I want to be, maybe at the end of this year or maybe at the end of 5 years, and that makes it a little better.
Wonderful, wonderful. No, I appreciate you for being so kind of open and honest about it. And I
you.
think vision boards is actually a very good idea.
Yeah.
So it keeps you focused.
It keeps you
what
focused.
Exactly is
yeah.
it that you want to kind of achieve and gain. So Madhav, how important is it to take chances in life, to explore opportunity, despite sometimes being very uncertain about them or having some self-doubt?
Thank you so much for that question, Ruchi. I think it's extremely important. In fact, I'm just a huge fan of, honestly, just get out there, just do it. Nobody's going to come and save you. You're going to have to do it yourself and for yourself. So it's extremely important to take chances. I would not be here if I hadn't taken so many chances, and it's sort of comical how people look at your successes and they don't look at the kind of hard work and rejection that goes behind it. And I kind of want to state it that rejection is just an extremely important part of life. It's going to move you more. So channel that anger. So use that anger, use that rejection, and take more chances.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And just overcome all the obstacles and uncertainties and just take that chance, that opportunity that's kind of knocking on your door.
Absolutely.
So as we begin to wrap up this wonderfully fascinating conversation, would you quickly just tell us about the writing projects you're working on right now, Madhav?
So I've just written a book called Punjab Musical and Hymns Beyond. It's a book about memory. It's a book about identity and just what being Punjabi is from my eyes, and what being Punjabi is in the modern world, in the contemporary world that we live in. I think being Punjabi in 2025 is even more deeply rooted in our culture than it used to be a few years ago. So I'm very proud of this book. I am very grateful for the kind of acclaim it's got in Punjab especially. I think it's resonated with a lot of Punjabis in Punjab and Punjabis abroad in the US, in Canada, in the UK, everywhere else, because we are spread out all over the world. And now I'm working on a second book. It's going to be a more pan-India kind of project. And like Punjab Musical was about the Punjabi identity, this one hopefully and ideally is going to be about the brown identity. Brown is more than a shade, it's a hue. And I was sort of inspired to work on this project, Ruchi, especially after the kind of hate that Indians started facing abroad. So it's a very personal project for me.
Wonderful. And we are so proud to have, a young Indian who's so kind of attached to his roots and who's so proud of his culture. And I think we have a very good, sort of an ambassador in yourself to kind of, further and amplify that message of being proud of yourself and of highlighting the contributions that, our subcontinent, people from our subcontinent have been making, including yourself. Finally, Madhav, what message would you like to share with our audiences about life, faith, determination, and trusting oneself?
I think that just be what is known in Punjabi as nirpao, just be nirvair. I'm a huge believer in this philosophy. I think that we have to be without hate and without fear in this world. I think fearlessness is just such an important quality for us to develop, and it's sort of a process that I'm dealing with every day as well, trying to build that confidence and build that fearlessness. So I just ask everybody else to do the same, and let's all be loving and let's all love each other.
I couldn't have asked for a much beautiful. That's a beautiful message, and how you've summed it up.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Madhav.
Thank you so much.
It's been truly amazing having this interaction, and we wish you good luck, Godspeed, and good tidings.
Thank you so much, and thanks for those wonderful questions. Thank you.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. So you are tuned in to Akashvani Jalandhar's Spectrum program. We thank you all for joining us. Until we meet again, goodbye.
And with that, we conclude today's Spectrum with deep drawn wishes for you to have a lovely evening. See you in the next episode of Spectrum. Till then, goodbye.